Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of What's Up Wednesday. I'm your host for today, Corey Camp, and today I'm so excited to have with me Director of Professional Learning and Grant Acquisition for Waxahachie ISD, Stacee Johnson. Welcome, Stacee.
Thanks for having me, Corey.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you. So this month on What's Up Wednesday, we've been trying to highlight some of our customers, our SIBME partners who are using SIBME for one of two things that we think is really kind of what most people are doing in the platform: supporting beginning teachers, new teacher induction, mentoring, or leadership calibration. And when I reached out to you, Stacee, I said, I know you're doing kind of both in your account, but which one do you want to talk about? And I love that you chose to talk with us about how you're supporting new teachers within the platform. So I'm excited that you get to share a little bit of that journey and what that's looked like with us today. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell us about your program for supporting beginning or new teachers.
Well, we have rebranded it. Our new title for our program is called Launch, and it really kind of encompasses what we're wanting to do is to support these teachers starting out in their professional careers and launch them into good habits, into best practices for their future, and also to help students, obviously, student learning. And so within our program, we've had to regroup and really look at what current new teachers to the profession need. It's much different than when I started 20 years ago.
Right.
And so, being able to not only provide logistical support on where's the copy machine, but really give them that instructional support that many of them need is so important. And I was alt certified when I came into teaching. I had a business degree, and it was a mentor that took me under their wing that is the reason I'm still here today. And so we're really working to meet the differentiated needs of our teachers as they come into the profession. So we're using SIBME in that respect. Our mentor teachers go through a training here with our service center, and then they in turn are sending videos to the teachers that they are supporting, best practices, welcome videos, tips and tricks and encouragement, and starting to have teachers record themselves and reflect on what's going well, and then identifying an area that they want to target and focus on. A lot of times as a first year teacher, you think it's everything. You just need to work on everything. But that gets overwhelming, and everyone needs to feel success. So with using video recording, sometimes you don't believe you're doing great until you see it on camera and someone says, look what you did. That was great. So this is our second year in using SIBME with our mentor program. And what we're finding is the mentors that return this year are much more comfortable. It's not a big deal, to get in there and set up those huddles now, where we went very slowly last year, especially rolling it out in a COVID year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's your second year, and I know we'll get to other ways that you're using SIBME in your district as well. But when you first acquired SIBME and partnered with us, was this program part of your initial plan to use SIBME with? And was it in the way that you just described, that mentors would be recording model videos, tip videos, and sharing those, and then eventually the mentees would begin doing that? Or did you have other ideas or visions for how you might use the platform?
Initially, we purchased it so that our coordinators and instructional coaches could gather real-time information and provide real-time feedback in the classroom. to make that process more efficient, since they service multiple campuses in many cases. And then also to develop a bank of videos, of master teacher videos of our own teachers in the district for others to be able to use and share. COVID happened right after that. And so a lot of plans, had to evolve to meet the needs of our teachers. And we knew that, I can't imagine my first year in education being last year.
Right.
And having to adapt on a dime, to have to turn and do something different, to learn quickly when you're already trying to learn just the fundamentals and get used to your own classroom. So it became a survival tool in some cases to be able to provide that support to teachers. One, because we had been virtual in some cases. It also became a time saver. Some of our campuses are very large, and so it's hard for a mentor to get down on their conference period. Sometimes schedules just were not jiving. And so, video allows them to work that into their schedule. And then also with coaching schedules, they work a lot of hours. And so it's been able to meet those demands as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we hear a lot of times from folks who have, they usually envision SIBME in one way and then see the ability for it to work sometimes even better from the get-go in another program before the other one gets going. And I know that you all have been using SIBME in a few different ways, but I know that video component has been huge for Waxahachie in, supporting new initiatives, new programs and tools that you've had. I know you've used video to create some tutorials and, hey, here's how you set up the new courses and all of those things, and being able to capture those and share those in SIBME has been a big part of the way you've just worked with your coaches and coordinators. So then, can you describe a little bit for folks the impact that SIBME has had up to this point with your new teachers and mentors in the launch program?
I think one piece is paramount, is just that relationship piece. It's hard as a beginning teacher because you're expected to function like the veteran next door to you. But yet you don't have a lot of the practical experiences that only come with your time in the classroom. Right. And so I think it's given mentors and teachers, beginning teachers, that relationship piece of seeing each other more often, of being vulnerable. If I'm the mentor teacher and I'm recording myself as well, then I'm showing that I'm still reflecting, I'm still growing 20 years in, and not just expecting the new teacher to do it. It's not a punitive thing. No one likes to see themselves on video, but I think the timing of starting SIBME in our district was a good fit, because at this point we've recorded ourselves so many times for so many reasons. It's not as big of a barrier, I guess, as far as comfort level. So I think that is a big piece. And then the reflective piece, just being able to go back and look at our own instruction, or even another teacher's instruction. You can always find something that's positive, and always go away with something that you want to know more about, or still pondering, and as it applies to your own practice.
Yeah. And I think about, my first years in the classroom, like you, Stacee, I was alternatively certified. I was going to be an art therapist, but I took a few sub positions, even long-term sub positions. So I had some experience in the classroom besides just being a student in the classroom, but I really didn't always understand the language of like differentiation and some of those education specific terms. I knew early childhood development from my psychology classes, but how that translated directly into lesson design and all of those pieces, I didn't have as a first year teacher. And that my district did away with their mentor program the year I became a first year teacher, but I had a gracious teacher take me under her wing. And she said, even though, I teach science and you're in special education, I'm here to support you. But most of that mentoring role was maybe looking at lesson plans, sometimes looking at student data, but it was mostly conversational, which was great. It was a great way to also build relationships, but I rarely got to see my peers in action. So I rarely got to see other ways or good opportunities for me to reflect. And I think that is so powerful. And it's a great way to build even those deeper relationships. Like you mentioned, a lot of folks think that when we do things more virtually, we are losing that personal touch, that high touch, but really you're more accessible to each other because you've got a virtual space to connect now. And it's robust and you can share videos and other artifacts and have discussions. And that vulnerability piece of when you are using video is definitely a relationship builder. So I love hearing that. And now this year, we've released the document commenting. So it's not just video artifacts that you can have comments and conversations and feedback on. It's those curriculum materials before the lesson plans, the student artifacts. And so I can't wait to hear how your launch program utilizes some of those features across the year. So that'll be good. So tell us, Stacee, what are other ways you're using Sydney in Waxahachie? Because I know you've got some big plans for this year and moving forward. And there's some other ways, initially coordinators and coaches were to use Sydney and they did. They're continuing that work. So tell us a little bit more about the other areas that you're using Sydney in.
And probably the biggest area right now is through our impact cohort, which are teachers that are wanting to either be rock stars on their campus and continue that work in being a strong teacher lead, or those that may perhaps someday want to be in the curriculum department in some capacity, whether it's a coordinator or instructional coach. And so we are using SIBME kind of as that conduit between when we meet. We meet every 2 weeks, and then there's some asynchronous work that happens in between. So as part of that, we're thrilled with the document feature. We'll be, really working on designing high quality professional learning this year. And using kind of a template to guide our thinking as we work through that. And so they'll be actually posting those to our huddle and then providing feedback for each other on their template as we start preparing for those learning opportunities. So, the new features are making it even more functional. I love, the goals. I love me some goals. I like checking off boxes and be happy. And I've found a lot of the teachers in the cohort are the same. They get upset when I don't set the date right and they can't check that done box. So I have to go back and fix that. So that's one way. We're also, in a perfect world, want teachers to firsthand be able to go into classes and see instruction in practice. But it is challenging right now with needing subs and having those positions filled. And so we're talking about different ways that we can capture that high quality instruction and then be able to have opportunities for teachers to come together and reflect and grow. And so that's one way that we're trying to still kind of flesh out is getting those videos captured and recorded and tagged and in the library. We haven't gone as far on that as I would like. And so that's something that I'm working on. So
libraries always, for most of our customers, it's a year 2, year 3, kind of they're working on some things, figuring out how, and then year 2 and year 3, it finally starts to happen for them. So I think you're right on track for that.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah. Here we go. Yes. Yeah. And I think that those are all really amazing ways. You guys are participating in our instructional leadership and coaching cohort as well. Some of your impact folks are in that one, right? Is that your impact people?
Yes.
Yeah. And so,
Yes.
so that's been exciting to be able to be a part of that with your team and continue to look at not just around the platform, but how can we use technology and enhance our feedback through the use of technology and support that reflection, build those reflective capacities, really kind of build that culture. So that's been super exciting with us this year with you guys. So, well,
and ultimately, I think it's about the tool. I hear people at times say, well, online learning is as effective for adults as it is for kids. It's not good, but it can be. It's all in the design and in how you use that tool, and it affords features that you can't get even in a face-to-face session. So,
right.
I think it all comes down to your purpose and what you're doing with it.
Yeah. Blended learning has been around for a while. That's actually how I first got into the world of using video for reflection. And there's tons of research that supports how that model works really well for all types of learners. You just have to be very intentional with the design of it. It's not necessarily that I'm going to do my lesson recorded and put it on my management system so students can watch it and then that's just as good. No, there are still things that you need that face-to-face interaction, that live interaction for, but it affords much more processing, much more practice and application, deeper practice and application. Again, if you have designed it as so. And that design is one of those that takes some iterating to do constantly as you are adjusting for your learners, whether those are students or adults. So, and that's my favorite thing about the SIDME platform is that as you've kind of demonstrated, you're using it in a few different ways across. It's being used in coaching, it's being used to build a best practice library, it's being used in mentoring for leadership building. And so it really is one of those platforms that has so much functionality and it's all pretty simple to use. You can use it in very complex ways or very simple ways. It can definitely grow with you. So, and that's definitely something that I think y'all have been doing at Waxahachie. So, well, Stacee, anything else you want to share for any of our folks who are maybe getting started with SIDME, are thinking about how this might be a good use with supporting their new teachers? Any advice or strategies that you found successful in your rollout?
I think the biggest thing that we've worked through here is that coaching can sometimes have the connotation that there's something wrong that needs to be fixed. And I think, again, it's in the design of how you roll things out. So if I'm working with a teacher and I'm willing to record myself and share it with that teacher is more likely to record themselves and share it with me. And it be more a truly collegial relationship where we're growing professionally and sharing ideas. So I think that would be my my biggest tip, is that when you're trying to find those risk takers, those teachers that are willing just to jump in and try because they trust you and want to grow, I think it's getting those teachers so excited about the possibilities, because they'll come up with ideas and uses for it that you never anticipated, originally.
Yeah, definitely. And it's about, leading through that vulnerability as well, right? So not being afraid to also get in front of that camera, maybe even going first with that. That strategy has actually worked really well with many of our partners. We've had campus administrators who have purchased SIDME for their campus and, recorded a staff meeting and then shared that in a huddle and even asked for feedback from some folks, or reflected and said, I noticed in the last meeting when I recorded that, we kind of spent a little bit too much time here. And so we're now going to change how we do some of our staff days, based off of what I reflected on. So, and that's powerful. It really prioritizes it. And it's not just something that we're asking this audience to do. It really is about everybody in our organization doing that. So, awesome. Well, Stacee, thank you so much for joining us today on What's Up Wednesday. I know we'll have you back again. So joining us again today was awesome. And I invite folks to comment below if you've got questions for Stacee. We'll make sure she gets those. But otherwise, have a wonderful week. I know many of us are in the full swing of school now that it's mid-September. And just shout out to everybody who is making all of this craziness work. It's still chaotic this year, but everyone is making it work. So great job. All right, we'll see you all next week for another What's Up Wednesday.